Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion. Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Mark Young. Be sure and check out my films Doors of Perception on Amazon Prime, Occult Louisiana is on Tubi, Roku, Apple, and a few more. We're having a fundraiser for the third film. If you'd like to help with production, we have links right in the description. Anything is greatly appreciated. We're also booking guests for February. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome Mark Young. He is a Belfast-based business owner, podcaster, and community organizer. He now runs Belfast Breakfast Baps alongside the Belfast Bapcast, a long-form podcast focused on sovereignty, accountability, culture, and personal responsibility. Mark, welcome. How you doing?
I am not too bad. And yourself?
I'm great, man. It's great to have you on. I had a wonderful time on your podcast a few months ago, and one of the best parts about having this show, in my perspective, is the ability to connect with like-minded people like yourself from across the world that I would never normally be able to connect with, share amazing insights, and what I consider essential puzzle pieces to help us understand the nature of this strange realm. And I love what you're doing with your show. I'm really looking forward to sharing your journey and getting your insights about the nature of this realm and your experience, sharing that with the audience. Before we get into that, this is your first time on. Tell us a little bit about yourself and let them know how they can find out more.
So, on a day-to-day basis, I run a breakfast coffee shop. We open very early in the morning for workers, etc., taxi drivers, people who have been doing night shift, and we close about 2:30 during the day. I am currently 54 days sober, so that's something very new in my life. Life prior to and during owning the BAP shop has been quite chaotic over the years, but a lot more settled and a lot more ordered now. And yeah, so you ask questions, I'll tell no lies.
Right on, man. Well, like I said, I love what you're doing. Tell us a little bit about your journey of awareness. What brought you to your current understanding, where you're at, and sobriety?
Okay, so awareness as in aware of what was going on in the world and the nefarious stuff. I've always had a an inherent issue with authority from as young as I can remember. So that made me question things very, very young. I'm not claiming to have discovered anything very young, but even something as simple as putting your hand up to ask to go to the toilet in school, I refused to do because, it's my body, my choice, as they like to say. Just simple things like that. And then in school, we done coursework on the JFK assassination. That was when we had first got the internet in the house. I'd done a good bit of research into that, seen the magic bullet theory. Blew my mind how that was passed off as a trajectory of a bullet, and I wrote my essay to mirror that, that it was clearly either a second shooter or Oswald wasn't the shooter at all, So, I just always question the official narrative, and it's to the point now where anything I see on the news or anything that is mainstream or being pushed, I know it's narrative driven, and I know there's an agenda or programming behind it, so I just try and remain abstract from it as much as possible.
So what was the catalyst that brought you to sobriety?
Okay, Christ really would be the number one reason. So there was no road to Damascus moment. I started getting a real feeling about, which is, this sounds ridiculous, but I was in the midst of mad addiction of alcohol, cocaine, and cannabis and benzodiazepines, but I was starting to get the feeling that I really had to help people get sober. And I had a very clear vision of what was needed, and specifically men sober, because I believe that if you heal the man, you heal the home, because when a man doesn't show up, the house goes to shit, the finances go to shit, the spiritual order, the stewardship goes to shit. And women on large are not the problem. It's men who are emotionally unstable, who are frustrated, and they are shouting very loudly about things that they don't understand, when really it's a projection of what's inside. And that was me as well, very largely, that I had good insight about what was going on, and I was angry about it and venting about it a lot. But the reality of it is, when you don't have your own house in order, how can you really start to project outwards?
Yeah.
So,
well, congratulations on your sobriety, man. I know how much of an accomplishment that can be, especially with the level of normalization that addiction has these days. Almost everyone is on some kind of pharmaceutical, and it's been made to appear that that is the solution to a problem. If you're depressed, you go get a pill to fix it. If you have an ache or pain in your body, again, go get another pill that'll band-aid that problem so that you don't have to think about it. At the same time, all these problems are festering and getting worse, and there is no real solution based on what the system is offering. So congratulations again. That's a huge accomplishment that you're able to do that. In your area of the world, is addiction the problem that it is, as you hear in the United States?
So, it's really drug dependent. Obviously, you have probably a worse opioid problem and crystal meth problem, but Northern Ireland specifically has quite a bad problem with benzodiazepines like Valium and Xanax and things like that. And it's always copies that we get now. If you're buying them on the street, you're getting fake ones, so you don't know what's in them. Addiction's not really the the problem overall. It's the same in every country. It's just misorientated people. You know, we're running around trying to plug a god-sized hole with chemicals, and there's no chemical solution to a spiritual problem. So.
Yeah. I understand you were even arrested a few times just for posting things online. Is that right?
Yeah, several times.
Wow.
So 3 times in 1 month. One time they tried to put the door up the hall, and the other time I got sprayed in the eyes with pepper spray and assaulted. So.
And what were the accusations for this?
One of the posts was a video that was just a mobile phone with a withheld number written on the phone. It was an active phone call. You couldn't see the person that was on the other side, and there was no identifying names, but it was quite an aggressive phone call between 2 people. So I posted that with no context. I got arrested for that. Another one regarding if you were born with a penis, you're a male. And just, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Common
and you're
sense.
still dealing with that. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's ongoing currently. So I can't really speak about the intricacies of the case because I'm not aware what way it would affect it. But in my opinion, I don't really care if it's on record or not. It's bullshit. It's overreach, and I'm not even angry about it though. To be honest, had I have been sober, I probably would never have made the posts in the first place. What is the need to put that out there? You know what I mean?
Is there any indications that changes could be made in the future based on the reaction from the public outrage? Is there enough public outrage to make a difference?
I think worldwide we are on a certain trajectory. So I think what's most important is to get yourself and your household and your immediate sphere of influence prepared for the worst, but obviously living in the best circumstances in the present. You know, there's big changes coming, I feel, in the next few years financially, right across the globe. So I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, it's already occurring. I think I mentioned this on your podcast. It seems like we're in the midst of a reset. Information is being wiped off the face of the planet. It's getting more and more difficult to navigate good information online, to try and share information. There seems to be algorithm echo chambers that we're trapped in. But in your talking points, you say the real collapse isn't political, it's personal. Could you talk a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Yeah, so I feel with the rise of mobile phones, etc., we have become so disconnected in general, not only from our fellow person, but from ourselves. You know, you'll have four people in a family house in 4 different rooms on 4 different devices talking to people outside of the house, you know. And I keep coming back to men, but men especially, like we have a duty to be orientated, and you know, like it or not, we do have a role in society, and that is protectors and spiritual stewards. And you know, okay, I've only actually taken responsibility of that role myself in the past 54 days, and the one thing I would say about sobriety is the big difference is just there's less noise, and you're not afraid of stillness, and you're not afraid of being alone. I think when you're filled with anger, filled with addiction, filled with all these other things that men around the world are, you look outwards for reasons. You know, oh, it's the immigrants, or you know, on the other side, oh, the ice are terrible, or whatever. But we're in reality, you know, you need to moderate yourself. You need to be accountable for your own actions. You know, over here we have men on the streets who are shouting our women and our kids, but yet they haven't been present in their own home for like maybe 3 years and sniff gear every night. You know, it's like,
yeah, there does seem to be a targeting of masculinity, an outright attack on males in our modern age.
very much.
The reflection of that is very obvious. The state of collective masculinity has changed so dramatically. A young man in our modern age looks and sounds completely different than we did just a decade ago. And it seems like these changes are coming on more rapidly. Even women are experiencing changes. Young women seem to be becoming more androgynous and a bit more masculine. The men are becoming more feminine. There is obviously an intentionality behind this with the programming, the propaganda, what they're putting out in social media, and pharmaceuticals, which have these effects on people, these known effects. Talk a little bit more about what you're seeing with this attack on masculinity.
So it's not only the attack on masculinity, I would say more so now we're in the phase of the reaction to the attack on masculinity, where we have, you know, parodies of masculinity being presented like Andrew Tate, or, you know, people where it's all about like bitches and hoes and drinking and Lamborghinis, where in reality it's about capability but restraint. You know, it's about being, yes, physically able, but for preparedness as opposed to domination. You know, we're sold a complete lie. So kids have been stripped of knowing what masculinity is, because man has been removed from the home. The father has been removed from the home on large. So we have a lot of men have, you know, they're looking to YouTube, or they're looking to wherever for a role model, and they find the likes of Andrew Tate, who can't even box.
Yeah.
You know, he's been preaching about being top G for the past whatever, and you know that people, these kids then are led to believe that they're not a man unless they can earn so much money or treat women like dirt. You know, it's more the reaction to the so-called toxic masculinity now than they've already succeeded in destroying masculinity in the generations below. You know.
Do you see any reform of masculinity, of masculine behavior? I do see small pockets of individuals and groups and young people who are reverting back to more natural ways, and it reflects in the way that they present themselves. I'm wondering if you're seeing any of this yourself.
From a first-hand basis, so I've been sharing my sobriety journey online, and I've been getting a lot of personal messages from men, especially, who have been affected by it, because, you know, a lot of men are starting to wake up in that regard, and also in a spiritual regard. You know, a lot of men realize they need to orientate themselves, but they're not sure where to start. And if they can, you know, they've removed the ability to even believe in yourself, really. So a lot of men don't know where to start, and the only reason I've got the day 54 is due to stubbornness. You know, that's basically it.
In your talking points, you mention human sovereignty, and this is something that I don't think anyone on the planet really has an idea of what true sovereignty is, because in all of our lifetime, we've never really experienced it. We've always been under the thumb of the ruling class, even in the United States, where there is a somewhat larger illusion of freedom. There is still not the level of human sovereignty that we naturally should have access to, that humans should naturally deserve, but we have never had the opportunity to experience that. In your perspective, what do you think real sovereignty would look like?
So I believe real sovereignty is achievable, and I believe that I am sovereign. So I don't have a perceived list of outcomes that I should get or consequences that I should receive. However, I believe that true sovereignty is when faced with a decision or, a circumstance, like for example, digital ID. When faced with that, I will just say no, and whatever the consequences of that may be. I'll endure them. And to me, that's proper sovereignty. Trying to legislate your way into sovereignty by becoming, reclaiming the straw man or whatever nonsense that people try to do is bullshit, because, we live in a tyrannical system and they'll do whatever they want to do regardless of whether you've sent a rebuttal of your trust or,
To me, that just asks for more harassment. If you get pulled over and you try to present that, that's it.
Yeah, you're putting the spotlight on yourself, really. I think true sovereignty is having the ability and the integrity to say no when you mean no, and just deal with the consequences, because I'm very much, be in the world but not off the world and whatever.
You mentioned having a spiritual connection, and I think this is the only real armor that we need in this reality, is that spiritual connection. For me, it's Christ, it's God. For others, it may be something else. But if you have that true belief, that true connection, a true faith, you shouldn't have to worry about anything else. That's right, the armor of God.
That's it right there. But yeah, you do, and I think we've got this stage that we're so self-censored where you almost feel guilty to say to somebody that you need God in your life or whatever. But, you do need God in your life. As I said previously, you're trying to fill a spiritual problem with a chemical solution, and it's not going to work.
Something else that has been focused on that I'm hoping isn't already infiltrated to a disastrous point like masculinity, and that is the state of younger generations, collective awareness of younger generations, the direction that they're headed morally and spiritually. This, I am hoping, still has a chance to be diverted in a positive direction. I do see more younger people that are becoming interested and aware of the true nature of reality. And I'm hoping that this is a trend that will continue and not be infiltrated to a point like some of the other movements against humanity that we're seeing.
Yeah, I feel our generation really owes the younger generations a big apology, because we're the parents that handed the kids the tablets instead of parenting them. We are the reason why they are being parented by the state and being parented by the internet, and this is the result. It's been a mass experiment, really, and I feel nothing but empathy for any of the kids that are caught up in the whole gender dysphoria thing, because if they get to the point of puberty blockers or whatever, that's life altering stuff that you're being allowed to make a decision on before your mind's fully formed, when you wouldn't be able to get a tattoo. It's pretty insane to me.
That's why I think what we're doing right now is extremely important. It's a slow process of chipping away at morality and the state of awareness and the understanding of our true history. Every decade, they are slowly removing information, introducing new anti-human agendas, so that our kids will have a different understanding of reality, and it'll be more normalized. These anti-human behaviors and systems become more normal to each generation. whenever you and I aren't around anymore and our voices aren't bringing awareness to this, the hope is that the younger people hearing this will continue to offer those perspectives and voices, and it won't be completely shut out like there is an attempt to do right now with the algorithms. I think we need to also go back to handwritten forms of information to pass down. If we have to write it in stone, do that, because the digital information is not protected, it's not safe, and it is easily changeable.
Yeah, very much so. Guy Anderson, the dude that wrote Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids, he handwrites everything for that very reason. Because, I mean, once you even self-publish, how do you know, unless you go and check every book, that what you wrote is in that book, you know? But going back to sovereignty for just a moment, so in the shop that I have, I am sort of running a social experiment, or whatever you want to call it. So on Mondays, we would feed homeless and any elderly in the local area free of charge, completely. And we do that through, obviously, any excess profits, plus we have like a buy me a coffee set up, and sort of like pay a BAP forward or pay a soda forward for the next person. And it's been running fantastic. Last Monday we done 40 BAPs to a nurse, an old people's home. And then during the week we run a pay what you can or pay it forward system, so nobody ever has to not eat. And also you're returning sovereignty to the transaction, because you're not putting the price. You know, people are paying what they feel, and they're also being allowed a space to contribute to somebody else, you know, so it's allowing people a sovereign space as well. And honestly, so far, Mondays are paying for themselves, which is ideal. So we're able to feed people for free, the homeless and the elderly. And then during the week, people are paying in and around the same price, or they're paying it forward for somebody else. So, you know, when people are given the opportunity to act in dignity, they always will.
Now, as far as what you guys are dealing with technologically and surveillance, around every street corner here, like I was telling you earlier, we have street light cameras, we have red light cameras. They can take a picture of your bumper sticker and know who you are, what vehicle you're driving. The surveillance is all-encompassing, especially in larger cities. There's also unidentifiable technology on street lamps, strange frequency meters, and very nefarious-looking technology that's popping up all over the place that we have no idea what it's really for. What's it like over there with the all-encompassing surveillance? Is there technology popping up on street corners, red light cameras, things like that?
So I believe that Northern Ireland specifically is the most electronically mapped island in the world, because we were used as a post-conflict model throughout the world, with our peace process, etc. So politically, that's been used throughout the world, but we are electronic, even in the forest, etc. Everything is mapped out grid-wise, but surveillance every street corner, and I'm under no illusion that our phones, you know, how many times have you had a conversation and it's advertised to you on Facebook within a few hours? You know, I think we just have to either one or two things: either accept it and move on and get on with your life, or two, enough people get annoyed about it to go, this isn't happening, and you know, you remove the people in power. But I don't really ever see that being a viable option, let's be honest, because even, you know, you get Trump in, and he's the Trojan horse. He's managed to pull the wool over the evangelical right side, and they think that he is the savior. yet he's quite openly demonic. You
Yeah.
know, it's just sad.
Yeah, there is a mass inversion of morality occurring right now. As I was saying earlier, there's a slow chipping away at the younger generations so that they'll be more accepting of inversions and sexual deviancy. Right now, pedophilia seems to be being normalized, and there is less and less consequences for sexual offenders in that manner. It seems that we're entering an era where there's more and more normalization. It's a very dangerous time. Is it the same over there where there seems to be a lot of normalization of sexual perversions and pedophilia, things of that nature?
Everything now is just global, Chris. You know, it's not that what's happening there isn't happening here. It's just take it for granted that it's happening here as well, because with the internet, etc., they just they push world narratives now. There's no. It used to be that United Kingdom was maybe 3 to 5 years behind America in trends, for example, but now it's instantaneous. So you're talking about the minor attracted persons that they're trying to introduce onto the LGBTQ plus flag. That's very much a thing here as well. But you'll know when that's accepted as normal that society has passed the precipice. You know, currently we don't even live in communities; we just live in proximity to each other. We don't know who our neighbours are. We don't know who, you know, the elderly are in the community who may need an additional help. You know, there's no empathy outside of self present really anymore, and I think that's the biggest problem. We would dissolve the need for these institutions if community was viable, if community was alive, because we outsource responsibility, we outsource you know, our medical requirements when we could be looking after our own health. You know, all these things we have a lot to answer for, is what I'm saying as well. People feel long before institutions do, and it's only us that can make a difference. And that's, I don't think that you or I are going to start a global movement, for example. So I do work where I can affect it, you know, and that's making food. So it's not revolutionary, but it's what I can
Great,
do.
man.
So
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the importance of masculinity in this area. This is something else we've seen a major decline in. As I was saying earlier, young men are becoming more feminized. I remember whenever I was growing up, we didn't have the internet. And if you said something offensive to somebody, you had to weigh out the consequences of being punched in the face, because that was a reality back then. You weren't able to hide behind a keyboard and say whatever the hell you wanted to anybody online without any consequences. There were consequences back then, and men were able to take care of themselves in certain ways that I don't believe most men are able to anymore.
yeah, 100%. Obviously, there is a contingent of people who train like MMA and boxing, and that's sort of always been the case. But on the whole, no. People just think that there is no consequences for what to say. Also, recent enlightenment, or whatever you want to call it, like I wouldn't react to half the stuff that I've reacted to previously either. Because what is the point? Words are words at the end of the day. Unless it's affecting your family or affecting your life, just walk on. But yeah, I think men, even our own generation, are afraid to challenge themselves. They sabotage themselves in utter fear of failure, and they are emotionally unstable. They're they feel guilty for being masculine because they're told that it's wrong,
Yeah.
and they apologize for speaking. Whereas we need to be the inversion of that. You know, we need to be unapologetic about speaking, providing it's measured, and we need to have the ability to be aggressive when need be, if it's to protect something, but controlled and measured. You know,
Yeah.
we're not talking about having a fight in the bar on a Friday night, but we're supposed to be the protectors of the household. And I very much believe that when the men stop showing up in the house falls to shit. And when the house falls to shit, you know, the community falls to shit, and so on and so forth. So we do have a lot more individual power than we think, you know, one household at a time, because all this stuff is irrelevant, really, when you do have Christ as the center, because irrespective of outcome, you know where you're going, and I know where I'm going, so I'm settled with that.
Yeah.
I just want to protect those around me as best possible in the meantime.
You said something I think is very important here in the talking points. Discipline beats ideology every time. If you look at the ruling class, the children of the elite globalists, the most rich and powerful people in the world that are born into wealth and power and have nothing but ideologies. They have no real life experience. They have no idea what the average person experiences or goes through in life. They just have these ideological beliefs that are passed down from generation to generation to try and attempt to, quote unquote, change the world, but having no experience with how the world really works and how people really think and feel and operate is going to have zero effect on society if you don't have that experience. And I think that's a great way to look at things. You have that real world experience, you're disciplined, you know what works in life, you know what doesn't work, and you go out and do it. That's the way you experience this realm, not just going off of what your parents and your teachers told you society should be.
Yeah, 100%. And I think especially the conspiracy genre, and that whole subgenre of people, very much outsource their own personal trauma through anger at systems. And there's plenty of things out there we can be annoyed about, you know, and get upset about. But I very much think that the world is in the state that it's in because we all allowed ourselves to get out of alignment and out of order. And if we all had a little bit more discipline, didn't want to jump on the dopamine roundabout, then the world would never have been allowed to get to this place. It's been a totalitarian tiptoe, as David Icke says, where they've been able to just creep in the background and incrementally take away community, take away the nuclear family, and normalize sexual perversion. And we have just allowed it all to happen.
Because you're on Forbidden Knowledge News, I have to ask you a bit of the woo-woo questions as it relates to paranormal phenomena, non-human intelligences, what we would consider extraterrestrials, angels, demons. Do you have any thoughts or theories on some of this phenomena? I have been exploring this a while, and I now have more questions and answers about any of this stuff, but as it relates to extraterrestrials, I have a completely different perspective than when I first started. I think most of that is a psychological operation. I do think there are spiritual intelligences, powers, and principalities that can affect and possibly even manifest as anything they want to appear as. But as far as the UFO extraterrestrial phenomena, do you have any thoughts on that and how it's being used as a weapon against society?
So first and foremost, I would say this is simply just my thoughts. I have no answers, but I feel that the other world encounters or demonic encounters or spiritual encounters, and I think that once again, if they are currently pushing UFOs, like even the US military coming out and testifying to seeing, you know, unidentified flying objects or whatever they're called these days, they're prepping us for something, and obviously Project Bluebeam would be exactly what they're prepping us for, a mass alien invasion, and it'll be done by holograph or whatever. I'm not saying that that's definitely going to happen, but it certainly looks like that's what they're angling up for anyway. I don't believe that there's a chance that I could personally be abducted by an alien. I don't believe in aliens. I don't believe in life on other planets.
Yeah.
I believe the planets are heavenly luminaries, and I think that we live on a flat plane. So,
depending on who you ask, some believe that we are in the end times, that we're in a period of biblical prophecy. Possibly the Antichrist is on the horizon. Christ's return may be near. Others believe that we're in Satan's little season, that the millennial reign of Christ already occurred, and we are living under Satan's rule at this time. Do you have any thoughts about the biblical implications of the times we're in?
Well, it says biblically that nobody will know the hour of the day, so yeah. I'm not going to hypothesize. However, the circumstances that we're currently in globally, it looks like they're trying to divide the world into 10 kingdoms, and which will be ruled by 10 kings, and it certainly looks like we're moving towards biblical prophecy. I think once again Donald Trump is quite significant in that. I don't think he is the Antichrist by any stretch of the imagination, but significant in the ushering in of the necessary systems, maybe. I just think we're living in very uncertain times, but that's why I'll go back to the continuous talking point that it's so important to have yourself orientated and aligned and know exactly where you stand, because in uncertain times, it's only those who know themselves that will be calm,
What are your thoughts about the state of entertainment, mass media, shows like ours, social media? There are major shifts and changes occurring right now. We've reached a strange point where conspiracy podcasts, truther podcasts, spiritual podcasts, things of that nature are being siloed to a specific audience, but on top of that, they have the mainstream alternative media that have taken over the space. The algorithm now relays most of the people who were interested in conspiracies and the true nature of reality. The algorithm is now siloing everything to the mainstream alternative. But behind that, we have tech gurus, the technocrats essentially, that are buying up all of the media companies. If you have eyes to see, you understand that they're doing this so that they have more control of the information, so that they can implement the algorithms to have control over where the information's going, who's seeing what. But what are your thoughts on where everything is going with media and the amount of control that the technocrats are gaining?
So let's use Elon Musk as example. He was put forth as the bastion of free speech because he bought Twitter and like sort of opened up the algorithm a wee bit. Yeah. But once again, without getting into the specifics, for people to believe that billionaires have your best interest at heart, you're utterly mistaken. He wants that to be one platform for everything where you're buying through it, selling through it, I think in the alternative media world, it's always been a clusterfuck anyway. There's only maybe been a very small percentile who are not either right or left orientated or bought to some description. They have their allegiances. So, there's very few podcasts like your own who explore such a myriad of opinions and topics, and and still not fly your flag. You know, it's likes of Alex Jones to me has always been a very obvious counter, like a co-intel where it's like he's clearly there to tell you enough truth so that you attach yourself to him and look like an idiot. And yeah, I just think if we just need to understand that our reality as far as screens are concerned is just curated. So I would really promote less screen time in general, you know.
Well,
let's start living again.
100%. Let's talk a little bit more about how you're navigating everything. You are training to fight. Is that boxing?
So yeah, during the sobriety journey, I got tagged in a post on my business page asking would a fight another sort of influencer dude over here. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And it's booked for the 27th of April. So as of Monday just passed, I've been on like a very strict diet and strict training regime. And well, yeah. And because I've never had a boxing match in my life. So, but I'm the main event because we have such a big social media following. So it's quite a lot of pressure, but I'm enjoying the discipline of the training. And once again, the masculine side of thing, it's not about beating the chest. It's not about ego. I don't give a fuck if I end up on the floor. It's about turning up and giving your best and controlled aggression, not rage.
Yeah. Any plans with that? Is this something that you're going to continue to pursue?
I'm 40 years old. I doubt very much that it's going to be something I pursue. It's just more. So before the 90, so I'd set myself a 90-day sobriety arc, and before the 90-day sobriety arc, I'd promised myself at the end of it, I was going to have a boxing match just as like sort of symbolically killing off the old self, and then I'm going to attempt to do stand up as well. I'm not even funny. I just want to kill my ego on stage, and yeah. So
yeah, I think it's so important to get out of your comfort zone and try new things, even if you're terrified of what you're going to do or you have no idea what you're doing. It opens up new levels of understanding. It gets rid of unnecessary fears. In my perspective, it can open up new opportunities that you never even knew just by trying something new. But going back to your sobriety, is there anything in particular that is bringing you success for your sobriety?
So there's no winning formula. I am literally just interacting honestly with myself and with the world. I'm turning up daily, being accountable, and if I feel it's too much for me to cope with, I'm passing it over to our good Lord and Savior, you know. So that's pretty much it for me. I mean, there's no real difference as such. The same problems are there, the same emotions are there, but I'm okay dealing with the stillness now, and there's not as much noise internally, so it gets better with time. The only thing I would say to people that is a certainty that momentum helps anything. So if you're able to get to a certain point, like maybe 2-3 weeks, it gets easier, you know.
Well, last few minutes, is there anything that we haven't covered yet that you'd like to bring attention to? Any other topics that you'd like to delve into?
One thing that I think is very important, you know, we're living in a time where a lot of people have lived through childhood trauma, etc., are suffering the effects of trauma. And the biggest thing that I have found throughout this sobriety journey is that we use our trauma as permission. and it's permission to act as arseholes, or permission to get away with stuff, or permission to be an addict, or permission for whatever. Trauma is a terrible thing, but it should not define the person that you are. You're still responsible for your actions. It explains the situation, but it doesn't excuse your actions. So that's something I would like to get across, is for people to stop using their trauma as permission to self-sabotage. And yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your bed and breakfast. What do you offer there?
So it's not a bed and breakfast. We offer, it's Belfast breakfast baps.
Oh,
okay. Our social media is the furthest thing from a coffee shop social media page. It's my daily journey. It's me having a laugh in general. We have the odd picture of food here and there. Quite a big following, but we do just simple breakfast food: sausage, bacon, eggs, black pudding, white pudding. Also have a gym. Also, let's say, training for the boxing match, and yeah. Plenty, and my podcast obviously as well, the Belfast Bobcast. So,
well, I love what you're doing. Before I let you go, one more time, remind the audience how they can get access to your show.
So on YouTube, just type in the Belfast Bobcast. That's BAP for Papa Cast, and it's the same on Spotify and all the rest. And then the business page is Belfast Breakfast Baps.
Awesome, man. Mark, we'll definitely have to do this again. And until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again tomorrow. We'll see y'all then. Watch Doors of Perception, now on Amazon Prime. You can now stream the forbidden documentary Occult Louisiana free on Tubi TV. If you're looking to start your therapeutic microdosing journey, but don't know where to start, especially when looking for the highest quality ingredients, including nootropics, and what you'd expect from a true microdose capsule, check out our friends at Brainsupreme. They offer the absolute highest quality ingredients so you can start your microdosing journey, knowing that you're getting top-notch ingredients. To find out more, visit their website using that link right in the description, and you can get 15% off your entire order. Hello friends, I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners, of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description. We live in an incredible age of information. More and more, we're discovering that we've been lied to and misled about much of our human history. Cory Hughes is providing profound revelations about World War I, World War II, the JFK assassination, Martin Luther King's assassination, and much, much more on his new Substack, Bloody History. Subscribe now for as little as $5 monthly. Just click that link right in the description to get started now and learn about our true history. Check out the incredible artwork of Johnny Larson, featured on the cover of the Forbidden documentary, and the book A Warning from History by Cory Hughes. Visit Johnny's Patreon, patreon.com/Johnny Larson, or click the link in the description and help support Johnny's work. The nature of this experience seems to always be just beyond the reach of our science, technology, and consciousness collective.
There's layers upon layers upon layers.
It does add such an element of mystery to this place.
Why are we here?
We're getting closer to the truth now.
There's too many people experiencing profound interactions with conscious entities.
I'm focused on the non-human intelligence contact phenomenon in dreams. Dreams involve interactions with real entities.
People are waking up paralyzed. They're sensing or seeing something very evil in the room.
I have experienced sleep paralysis. Shadow people start to appear.
I was taken from my earliest memories by non-human alien entities. More and more people are wanting to talk about these things.
A ufologist would say, well, that's obviously an extraterrestrial. And our paranormal researcher would say, well, that's a ghost. Well, what if it's all of those things and none of those things? The entities, the intelligence that was just beyond our understanding.
There seems to be something a little extra that can take forms of anything.
I can't believe what I've seen, but it continues on a daily basis. We're definitely not alone. UFOs, UAPs, portals opening up.
I live with all this supernatural stuff. You kind of grow up with that around here. You see a lot of strange things. I don't like to talk about skinwalkers too much.
I had an experience with a skinwalker entity.
People, they would say they would transform into bears, into wolves. There's these bad things that occur. Ghosts, UFOs, and all types of things coming from somewhere.
Our beliefs, our emotions, and our fears all seem to heavily influence the nature of these experiences.
There is so much more that we just don't have time for in this busy, loud, noisy life that we lead.
All of this is planned. Everything is synchronicity.
There's so much more out there. We really are picking up such a small percentage of the electromagnetic spectrum.
The world is an amazing place.
It feels like we're gods in training.
Louisiana is a magical place.
And that was Cajun country. Now
the food's good. The ladies is fine. Just let them roll like the old folks say, c'est la vie.
So much incredible occult and forgotten history.
There's a lot to the ancient history there that we could be uncovering. Everybody is starting to really put pieces together.
I've been writing books and doing research in the field of Native American mounds and archaeology since the 1980s. The LSU campus mounds were redated, which is absolutely bizarre. This is all very, very strange, and it's just been made more strange because all these old mounds are in Louisiana. The Smithsonian dug into over 2,000 mounds, finding 17 large skeletons.
They saw a very tall humanoid being.
We just have a rich history of paranormal type stuff. New Orleans is considered to be the most haunted city in the country.
The energy that's over the land, and that energy seems to be stuck there.
In 2019, I had an experience. It was all black, had long black hair on it, a tall creature that had a dog's head. Legendary things of fiction become reality.
He was 15. This dog man chased him through the woods. He only survived because of his dog saving his life.
Y'all may kill me today. I said, but I promise you this, I'm going to kill at least 2 or 3 of y'all. And I said, you will for the pain of this 30 y'all 6.
It was so close that he could see down the back of its throat.
The vast swamps of Louisiana hold many secrets. From an incredibly old, forgotten history to mythical creatures.
There are no answers. There's only more questions.
Hello, friends. Are you struggling to lose weight and keep it off? Have you tried intermittent fasting, low carb or ketogenic diets, cutting calories, and exercising more with no success? Book a free intro call with my friend Christian Yordanov to see how he can help you. He is a health author and functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. He was on the show recently to discuss his latest book on longevity, How to Actually Live Longer, Volume 1. He understands that for many people, excess weight gain and weight loss resistance is much more complex than calories in, calories out. You may be having a hard time shedding the pounds because of hormonal and metabolic imbalances that won't respond to simply eating less and moving more. In our modern environment full of obesogenic chemicals and endocrine disruptors, xenoestrogens, and persistent organic pollutants, as well as unprecedented levels of stress, a more sophisticated approach is needed to help people like yourself achieve long-lasting results. Christian's going to help you lose weight in a safe, sustainable, and stress-free manner. He doesn't use severe calorie restriction, low-carb or ketogenic diets, intermittent or water fasting, or intense exercise regimens with his clients. Instead, his focus is on improving diet quality, addressing hormonal and metabolic imbalances, reducing stress, and helping you build the habits and lifestyle that will allow you to achieve your body composition goals and transform your health. In addition, he's going to help you boost your detoxification system because this is critical to get right before you start losing a significant amount of weight. Christian will help you get healthy to lose weight. That is the right way to do it. This is not a quick fix, but a comprehensive strategy that'll help you achieve your desired body composition in a safe, free, and stress-free manner. If you are done with the fat diets and intermittent starvation and are ready for real solutions, the support you need is available. Click that link in the description to learn more and book your free call with Christian to see how he can help you. Make sure you mention FKN when booking, and he will add extra free consultation sessions to your package.